Vera, do me a favor. Walk me through this whole thing that's been going on because I saw your tweet about this and I've seen the ongoing conversation about this, but we have not talked about this on the show. I know you've talked about this on in your channel, which I encourage everybody obviously to go check out. But walk me through this tweet here.
Okay, so it all started with the Game Awards because, man, oh man, did the Game Awards cause quite a bit of upset in the video game industry. We saw a record number of indies and double A's. We saw Claire Obscure Expedition 33 absolutely sweep the competition, and we've seen that happen years before with companies like Larian. But because you have such a we'll say a time of upset in the video game industry right now. It seems that there's a coordinated attack, at least in my opinion, and from what I have noticed in the industry regarding indies and double A's. So it of course, started with the Game Awards, but Larian's statement over AI has caused quite a bit of outrage over the past couple of days. Also, and we know that there are a lot of people like these activists and these developers who genuinely are not talented. They're getting hired in the industry. They're taking roles and positions from people who actually are half decent at their job, but maybe they're a little bit afraid that they're going to be replaced by AI. Either way, though, there's been a lot of controversy about the use of AI in video games. It's raising a lot of questions. But now we have Jason Schreier admitting to leaving out context about Larian's statement over AI usage. And I know you had a very, very big interest in the second part of this post, but the ex-Larian developer claiming that they were sexually assaulted in studio at Larian and that quote unquote fascists worked at the company. And how was this trans developer determining that their coworker was a fascist? Well, apparently it was because they watched Tim Pool videos in Office and thought Black Aragorn was stupid.
Well, let's go through this actually because this was conveniently dropped. Which this person, by the way, notice it is on Blue Sky. I also want you to notice that they have since deactivated their account since this has popped off here. It says so. Let's walk through this real quick. This person and the most definitely let's see, a female avatar, definitely a dude. All right, says. Feels like a good time to talk about when Larian employed an outright fascist and refused to fire him. Over COVID, one of our engineers was radicalized. Next time we saw him, he was watching Tim Pool videos in Office and telling us about cultural Marxism at work drinks, the whole 9 yards. After a while, he had a little cohort of freaks that shared some of his sentiments. Everyone was uncomfortable with this guy. Folks went to Swin and said, hey, this guy's a weirdo fascist. He's making everyone uncomfortable. He's at odds with the team's values. Swin's response, he's invaluable to the team. It's hard to replace him this close to release. Naturally, the vibes got worse. Hanging out at lunch now sucks because these guys might bring their bigotry, like complaining that Argon is black in the new MTG crossover set. And there's a lot of minorities on the team, yet bigots abound in the studio. Sven is happy to profit off the cachet of making a, quote, woke game while letting bigots endanger minorities in the studio. Guys, just by being there, they're endangering the minorities. My worst experience as a trans woman, sorry, dog, was shortly after coming out in work. One of the other office weirdos and sexually harassment aficionado, Felix, currently a CD Projekt Red employee, walked past me in the office one day. He makes a weird remark about my tits, which clearly doesn't have. And then to, quote, confirm something, he grabs my crotch in the middle of the office. No fear, no shame. But why report it? Well, that ship has sailed and had unchecked fascists. We had unchecked fascists in the office. People taking the piss out of Boulder Gate 3's gender options, multiple cases of sexual harassment, and more. More importantly, we were told that if someone is important enough, they will not be dealt with.
Yeah.
Can I play? Can I play a little bit of Jeopardy here for a second? I'll take things that never happened for 800, Alex.
Yeah. These claims are insane. I mean, it went from a conversation about Larian bad for using AI to sexual assault and keeping fascists around, which is hilarious because they're a cultural Marxist, this tranny, is upset for someone in office calling out cultural Marxists, and then they melt down and delete their accounts. They're admitting straight up to wanting people fired from, if this is any of this is true, right? Take it with a hefty grain of salt. If any of this is true, they are straight up admitting to wanting people fired for not holding their political viewpoint. We should not build workplaces that require political viewpoint conformity. And that is what they are arguing for.
Mally, you admittedly don't spend a whole lot of time around the video game industry, right? So when you hear stuff like this, I gotta think that you just look at this and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
No, yeah, exactly.
This I can't imagine this this really sends you down the rabbit hole of wanting to be a video game developer.
No, if anything, it just looks like most employment places today, pretty much anywhere, even my former jobs, it's like you have to sit through hours of orientation on how to treat people with sensitivities correctly, and they're just they're transitioning it into the video game industry as well. So yeah, it just takes out all the fun.
The idea that Tim Pool is seen as this is the one thing we've seen over and over again. This idea that before we get to the Tim Pool thing, I did find a book that this person was reading actually before they posted this, and I wanted to share this with y'all. This is the book that they were reading. Everything I Don't Like is Alt-Right: The Emotional Child's Guide to Political Discussion. I think they posted that right before they were reading through that cover to cover before posting that there. But Tim Pool is seen as quote unquote alt-right now, and I've watched some of Tim's videos, and I've been on Pop Culture Crisis, which is a Timcast show, but I've never actually met the guy before. But I have seen his takes. I can't imagine a world where Tim Pool is seen as alt-right.
He's not alt-right.
He's a milquetoast fence sitter.
Yeah, he is definitely. And, we've gotten to the point where, and it's been this way for a long time, that they want to call you alt-right and they want to call you fascist. So it's acceptable when violence is taken out against you. I mean, it's like George Orwell said, the word fascism now has no meaning except in so far as it signifies something not desirable. And that is, I mean, exactly what we've seen. These words that used to mean something like Nazi or fascist or bigot, they used to actually mean something. Now they don't, because if you don't like someone, you could just throw that word around and hopefully ruin their career. Like, it's terrible.
I've actually talked about this on the show several times, where like you said something really important. Those words meant something at some point. And when those words were first starting to be tossed around, those of us who grew up with those words, who had heard them and took them very seriously. Like if I heard somebody was racist, I was like, yo, I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to be around that guy, right? That guy's an asshole. It's like the same type of thing. You would stay away from that. So naturally, when people started tossing those words around, you're like, whoa, like, and you take offense to that, right? And eventually it's like the boy who cried wolf. The first time you're like, oh yeah, well, listen, go protect the boy, there's wolves, right? But by the 7,000th time you've been called something with no justification behind it, you're like, fuck off, idiot, and you let the boy get eaten. So it's crazy to say the least. And that's where fascism is, according to Hash Bandicoot, the wonderful they/them employee over here, who has since deleted their Blue Sky account. All right, so let's circle back to your tweet here. So the claiming the fascist worked at the company, right? Then we have the Sandfall interactive use of AI placeholder images here, which is the next part of this here, which is with the game of the year, right?
Yeah, so what is very interesting about this entire situation is it does all stem from the discussion of AI, but you have so many people
Oh, sorry.
within
Phoenix is getting out of his car. I'm sorry.
No, we're fine. We're good.
Okay.
Really important things going on. Sorry. Go ahead.
It's all right.
Sorry.
And because you have this hatred of AI usage within the industry, they're looking for basically any angle in which to attack indies and double A's. So that's why they're going after Sandfall. They're going after Larian. And listen, I do not love Larian as a studio. I think personally that their excuse to use AI is pretty bullshit because they talk about how artists are creating concept art day in and day out and for their production use, and that's why they want to use AI. Guys, you've only had Divinity for 20 years except for Baldur's Gate 3. Let's be honest. If you need concept art, if you need AI to create concepts for your game at this point, I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but I do think AI it's a perfectly fine tool. I think if you're gonna, say it's an all or nothing stance, okay, have fun being kind of left in the past. But I think that a lot of these activists within the industry are so gung-ho about canceling companies based on AIs because they know how easily replaceable they are. They are not doing anything special within these companies. They are not doing anything that warrants having a high position and a high paying job. And that's why they're so touchy feely about it. But we're also hearing apparently, I know somebody had mentioned in chat, and I'd mentioned this in my video too. They reached out to Zoe Quinn to potentially hire Zoe Quinn, which if that's true, that's another reason to not trust Larian. That's bad, but yikes.
Well, I have a quick question. I don't. What does it matter if a company does use it? Like, why is that anyone's business? I'm just that's a question. I don't understand.
Because
why
they
that's anyone's
basically
business.
review it as replacing human beings, even if that isn't the case. Because
But that has nothing to do with the game.
Well, true. Well, Larian had previously said that they used AI during the conceptual process. Okay. Same with Sandfall Interactive. They had used AI they had AI textures and an AI sort of wallpaper and posters that accidentally made it into full release. They replaced it a week later because they actually had artists who had created basically art to put over it. But they're furious over the AI use because they view it as AI steals from artists, and then you are cutting corners to not have to pay somebody to do that job. That's their mentality. It's not particularly good mentality in my opinion.
Well, here's the irony of all this, and let me go and hit fast forward on this conversation a little bit because the irony of all this is Elon Musk. Well, let's talk about their mindset here. The mindset overall with their ideology it's very socialist, right? Everybody should get money, everybody should be happy, everybody should have a living wage. Well, according to Elon Musk, that's going to happen because of the use of AI, right? That's literally what he's saying. We talked about this before in the past. So this should the use of AI. They should be celebrating this because these people won't have to work. They won't have to do any game development because according to Musk, he says the future is going to be amazing with AI and robots enabling sustainable abundance for all.
Yeah, so, he doesn't lay out how he believes that's going to happen though. So cautiously optimistic. That'd be great, but
yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But I'm just saying whether or not it happens or not, the idea is exactly how their ideology lines up, right? The idea that, hey, it is a very socialist idea that if you have these robots and AI doing all the work, and you're just receiving money every month from daddy government, an abundance amount of money, then all these game developers that they have the golden parachute, man. AI is going to hand over the job and they're going to be able to make all the money they want, which is great.
Yeah, and also another, angle to this is, of course, the access media needs these AAA companies to exist. Without these AAA companies and without the access, they're no longer the media. And the way that they cover the AI situation is, of course, extremely one-sided because they have been attacking games like Arc Raiders for their use of AI. They have been attacking games like now Baldur's Gate 3 and Larian. They're attacking Sandfall Interactive. And the Gamer has even pushed it as far as saying that the wins that Expedition 33 got at the Game Award should be rescinded. They shouldn't be allowed to get all of those wins because of AI, but yet they'll rate something like Black Ops 7 higher and ignore Black Ops 7's AI use because, of course, it's Microsoft and they don't want to piss off Microsoft and that team because they need these AAA companies and their slop to exist, which, of course, in my opinion, just highlights how targeted these attacks are on indie and AA's when you've got Jason Schreier admitting that he left out context to the Larian AI situation. Paul Tassi is now attacking the Lords of the Fallen CEO in that studio and their opinions. And then they're also attacking Expedition 33 and saying they shouldn't be able to win based on AI. Everything just seems to be happening all at once. In my opinion, it's very targeted and very intentional.
You're muted.
Sorry, go talk about the Jason Schreier thing for a second, because I think that's really important. Like, this is a journalist who just like, well, I just decided to not include that.
Yeah, so what had happened was Larian had done this interview with Jason Schreier, and the quote from them that really grinded everybody's gears was, since concept art is being called out explicitly, we have 23 concept artists and job openings for more. These artists are creating concept art day in and day out for ideation and production use. Everything we do is incremental and aimed at having people spend more time creating, and ultimately that is why they are okay with things like AI, and they're continuously increasing their pool of different tools to be able to use. But Jason Schreier, and I had sent you this post, he basically admitted to leaving out context, and Jason Schreier's quote was, "If I had known 2 paragraphs about Gen AI in my article would be so controversial, I would have expanded on them a bit." And he didn't care. He could have put that in the article initially, but oh, no. He knew that this was going to create a firestorm.
Right. Well, it's just one of those things where what do they say? The old saying is silence is violence, right? And context is key. And when you take those things out and you just decide to not include them.
Well, you're talking about silence is violence from Jason Schreier, who sat on sexual assaults and sexual harassment information at Blizzard for several years in order to sell copies of his book.
Correct.
He doesn't care about the violence when it's making him money.
Correct. And that is just it. So with all that said, it's been a busy week in the world of video games, to say the least. This has been crazy. Is there anything else to this story that we should know?
Not really, but I would recommend everybody keep an eye on the way that the media is covering indies and AA's, because everything is happening. It's very coordinated and it's, very quick.
Yeah, here's these 2 paragraphs that you talked about right here. By the way, the articles here from Kotaku and from The Gamer, which we didn't, this is talking about the backlash of it being rescinded here. I actually ran it through Grok and asked if those 2 articles were written by AI. Just because I think there'd be extreme irony.
You're asking the AI if something is ran through AI.
Yes, 100%. And to be clear, I think that, by the way, that it does a very good job of determining these things. Now, I also think there'd be extreme irony if these 2 articles were written by AI while they're complaining about AI. In this instance, they were not. But I followed up and said, hey, just for shits and giggles, how much time would it take a human writer to write these articles versus writing it in AI? And it said a human journalist typically takes between 45 minutes and 2 hours to research, outline, write, and lightly edit a similar timely news article, right? And the AI generation time is between 10 and 60 seconds. That is why they're scared. Because guess what? these articles are going to be boom, 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 pumping them out as fast as we possibly can. And these journos, they will not have jobs anymore at all. There'll be one journalist who has a news outlet, and he may talk to some developers, and he's going to talk to ChatGPT and say, write an article about this. This is my experience or whatever. And they'll have, whatever. But we've talked about this before. The idea, like, Vera, you're a bigger news source than the vast majority of these outlets, because people go to you to hear your thoughts on these things, as opposed to what Jason Schreier has to say about it.
Yeah, definitely. And, we've heard over the past 2 years about 50% of the video game journalists have been fired or laid off. And I hope soon that'll be 100%, because they are completely irrelevant. They never hold the opinions that gamers have. And of course, they're accepting money in order to shill for products, which is why nobody trusts them anymore.
Well, there you go. There's a lot there, and the AI revolution is real, and I know nobody wants to talk about it, but especially in the video game space. But I wanted to highlight a comment actually from someone in the chat. They said, as a developer, if you don't use it as a tool, like, you're doing it wrong. You're missing the boat, and I 1000% agree with that. I think it is 100% a tool that you can complain about it. Otherwise, you're going to get it will take over for sure.
Well, as someone who vocally absolutely hates AI,
yes,
I would say I still don't understand why it's anyone's business if a company uses it or not. I certainly understand if you want to be a developer or a company and say, listen, our brand message is that we are all humans, and we don't want to use these tools. Sure, great, that's good for you. You've got my support personally, but whether or not a business uses a quote unquote tool or not, I don't understand why why that should mean literally anything. I could maybe understand it for an award, maybe that you could maybe make an argument there's some falsification and you may have to change the terms of how an award is given. Outside of that, what is it your business, how a business gets something done? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I feel when it comes to, like, if you want to do that and you want to say, hey, we're going to make all of our games, we're not going to touch AI, we're not going to do that. Cool, awesome. Don't use Photoshop. Don't use autofill.
Those aren't the same things.
I don't know.
They're not the same things.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They're not the same. But one is a tool, one is something literally doing it for you. But again, that's besides the point. I'm on your side on here.
Right. But what I'm saying is that the art itself, I mean, it will autofill that image, though. It'll do all those things. And I just, the way I see it is, they're just both tools. They're both tools. And for me, where does the line between AI and computer generation begin and end? Right? Nobody can clarify that.
I can clarify that for you.
Please go ahead, Phoenix.
So one is a tool in which you would, and again, I'm on your side on this.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. One is a, so when, let's say I'm going to texture a model, right? So in real life, I would have had to have painted that or gotten a texture and applied that thing. But in a computer world, I am still making that texture. I'm applying it to that model. Now the model is rendering. It's doing the actual mathematical calculations. But there's a team behind that. There's a lighting team. There's a skin and texture, bone. All those different teams exist. AI is essentially, I'm telling a thing to make a thing that I actually don't know what it looks like until it presents it to me. So it's not a tool in that I use a hammer to hammer a nail and that thing goes in here. It's just doing all of it for me based off of a request. So it's not the same thing. But again, to me, this is all semantics. How a business gets something done, who gives a shit? It matters what the end result is. If you want to say, just in some way, some companies say, like, our beef is like raised on a great farm. If you want to go and say great, but at the end of the day, it's just, what is the end product? And you value the product based off of that for you. If you want to advertise that you're against it, okay. Some people may give a shit or not, but that's up to you. But I just don't understand the argument for, I have to let you know how I make something. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and these people, whether they're developers or writers or these journalists, whatever they may be, they view AI as being like this moral evil because it auto-generates using pre-existing things made by humans, and so they view it as theft. And so they're saying, well, you're evil if you use the AI. But I do agree that ultimately, if a company's motto wants to be, we don't use AI at all, okay, cool. That's
Right.
great. Yeah, cool. But if you want to use AI, okay, that's also fine.
Yeah, fine.
Clips of the show all the time. The live show Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Hit that subscribe button right here.